Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, Bryan Wachter joins us. He's the Senior Vice President for the Retail Association of Nevada. We're talking about everything, all coming up next.
Merry Christmas from everybody at the Winnemucca Big R.
Merry Christmas from Big R Lovelock.
Merry Christmas from the Fallon Big R.
Merry Christmas from Big R Fernley.
Merry Christmas from all of us at Big R Sparks.
Merry Christmas and a whole lot more.
It's the $200,000 Cars and Cash giveaways at Carson Valley Inn. Cash and prize drawings Thursdays and Saturdays. Plus, win a 2023 Ford F-150 or we'll pay you cash instead. Don't miss your chance to play and win. Cars and Cash at the Carson Valley Inn.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
For 50 years, Nevada Heating has been keeping people comfortable in their homes. At Nevada Heating, call the Do It Right guys and get the heat back on today. Call us today and we'll fix it today. That's the Nevada Heating way. Why freeze for days on end when Nevada Heating can get your furnace fixed today? Call us today and we'll fix it today at 323-5585 or schedule us on our website at nevadaheating.com.
Save money and take transit. Did you know you can ride the bus all day for less than what it would cost you for a gallon of gas? Plan your trip now by going to rtcwashoe.com.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad on No Holds Barred Political Forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're always pleased to welcome back to the program Bryan Wachter. He is Senior Vice President of the Retail Association of Nevada. Pleasure to have you back on the program, sir.
Thanks for having me, Sam.
You're very welcome. So the big news in the last 24 hours is that Miriam Adelson, the widow of Sheldon Adelson of Las Vegas Sands, sold $2 billion worth of stock in the company to buy a controlling stake in the Dallas Mavericks. And the plot is interesting because Mark Cuban has been talking for quite a while about having a stadium built as part of a casino complex. And Las Vegas Sands has been trying to break into the Texas market for years now. What do you think about all this and how this might play out?
No, there's certainly a lot of synergy there, right? We've seen that Mark Cuban has said exactly this. He wants a stadium that's surrounded by a resort and casino. He wants it in Texas. We've also seen him be a very passionate owner, someone I think both the fans and the players respect. And so I think, part of the deal is he continues to have control of the team and gets to make those decisions. And so I do think we are looking at, certain things coming together to be able to see that outcome. Texas has yet to legalize gambling. I think that's something that they're certainly working on. I know she certainly supports the governor and hopefully in that endeavor. And then, Vegas is also on the rumor list to be getting an expansion team. So I don't see, them moving the Mavericks to Las Vegas. But I do see this as a way for them to kind of break into Texas. And then on the other hand, Mark Cuban, I think this is like a 20 times, return on his investment from when he first purchased the Mavericks. And he has a lot of other different projects, including his new prescription drug platform that is coming out. And so I think it makes a little sense for him to open himself up to some capital if he's got some other projects going on.
Well, also, with his, familiarity with the public with Shark Tank, he really has a great platform to start from, and people are very impressed with his business prowess that has been proven. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see what his relationship is with the legislators to see how this may be able to get moved. But anyway, a fascinating move there. It was also interesting to see that Mrs. Adelson is worth $36 billion. So a couple of $1 billion worth of stock is not that much of a chip off the old block there.
You know, she certainly seems to be able to afford it. And it's nice when they can afford things all on their own. And they don't need any assistance to do that. And that's something that we've seen the Sands do repeatedly. And so that, I think, fits in right in with their ethos.
You know, and it was interesting, of course, when Sheldon Adelson was alive, he wanted to put in money to get Allegiant Stadium going, and then withdrew the money once the public funding came in. So yes, there is definitely a history of that. I also wanted to ask you, as you live in Las Vegas, what was it like dealing with Formula One? Your thoughts on that?
You know, I think my perspective is going to be a little bit limited. I certainly don't travel into the Strip corridor on a regular basis, and I, you know, support the Las Vegas gaming economy the same way everyone does in a tangential capacity. But it did make things, I think, a little bit difficult to traverse. I think there could have been a little bit more communication onto what things were going to happen and different ways that people could resolve that. But I also think that Vegas is getting a little bit used to these big, you know, projects coming in, certainly keeping things kind of locked up for certain periods of time and then, you know, leaving. We've got the Super Bowl coming up in a couple of months. I think the public, the general public's, you know, elasticity on you know, how much they're willing to put up with was certainly challenged with F1. And one of the few organizations I feel that really didn't kind of make bringing the community in as part of the overall goal versus this is just a venue to hold an event.
Yeah, and with the Super Bowl coming, this is almost like a practice run for how crazy it's going to get. I mean, there will be so much media and support staff prior to the event, let alone the actual event. It's going to be crazy.
You know, I think Vegas certainly is going to pull it off. Obviously not without some hiccups. We've had a few, I guess, hiccups on all of these events. And I think it really comes down to how those who are in charge putting these things on communicate those hiccups and how well they're able to be distinguished between what's supposed to happen and what ultimately did happen. And so I think it's going to be incumbent, if this is the new Las Vegas and this is the new, you know, cream of the crop, so to speak, that we're going to be hosting these kind of one-time single-use events or maybe even short-period multi-use events. We're going to need kind of a community action plan, and that's really something that needs to be put into place before we start accepting more and more of these events.
Whose responsibility is that? Is it the county commission? Is it the convention authority, or just a conglomeration of all?
Well, I think obviously that's the issue, right, is coordinating all of these multiple government agencies, the pseudo government agencies. I'm certainly not going to suggest maybe one is better than the other, but I would suggest that there needs to be a plan and a chain of command in place so that these are solved at a community level standpoint and not from which individual stadium authority, convention authority, county, city government is actually doing the overseeing.
You know what's funny about all this is, to me at least, is the monorail, you know, went bankrupt several times over the years, and it became kind of a joke. Now it has become something that is so necessary, it's unbelievable. It actually is making a profit because the convention authority bought it because they needed that to allow the Boring Company to build their transportation system both under the convention center and also to spread out across the valley. Steve Hill said that this had a 10-year lifespan because you couldn't buy the cars anymore, so they were eventually going to run out of parts. But, you know, people are now saying to me, boy, it would be great if there was a station at the Venetian for the Sphere. And, you know, suddenly it's become the hottest thing because it's needed so much. What are your thoughts on that?
You know, that light rail is, actually, I even think it's cliche to say that light rail is the future, Sam, because light rail is the past. but it's something that's not utilized here. There was an effort to bring some light rail up Maryland Parkway, connecting the university to kind of the main corridor, and to start looking at kind of a spoke approach to how we move people in Las Vegas, out and around there. Unfortunately, I think it was a cross between a lack of community interest, but also a funding issue. But we continue to not implement the best solutions and implement the solutions that we can, and then get frustrated when there are gaps. And so that's a conversation that we need to have going forward. And I really think the legislature needs to have, or at least empower a local regional board to say we need to modernize how we're moving people around, because this isn't working.
Do you think the boring company is a part of the solution, if not the solution?
I, remain hesitant. I sit on one of the local regional boards that deals with transportation issues, and what we were talked about before Boring began its project in Las Vegas, and what we've gotten once Boring came in and kind of delivered their product, are two completely different things. Is anything that is going to alleviate some of the surface traffic, some of the surface pressure, and being able to get people around more efficiently a good thing? Yes. Is this the best solution? I think it depends on which ultimate product we get.
All right, let's take a break. More with Bryan Wachter when we come back.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years. Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
The casino industry drove Nevada's economy for decades. By the 1990s, however, the state's sole industry was in sharp decline. Many were losing their homes, many were leaving the state. Is Reno on track to be the Detroit of the West? Was an October 2010 Reno Gazette-Journal headline. Nevada knew it was time for a change and a time to diversify. Story County took that lead, took risks, invested tens of millions transforming its desert into a place of opportunity and a future for Nevada families needing something new. That desert now provides thousands of high-paying tech, advanced manufacturing, and energy careers at companies like Tesla, Panasonic, Google, Switch, and Redwood Materials. Story County transformed Northern Nevada forever, and the tide of opportunity has raised all vessels through construction contracts, high-paying careers, and the power of payroll. Tens of millions have been generated in sales and property tax, permits, and other revenues for Reno, Sparks, Washoe County, and for all of Nevada. Enough, in fact, to generate a surplus after public services are provided. And best of all, a sustainable economic climate has been created, enabling our children to stay in Nevada and live prosperous lives in their home state. Story County, improving Northern Nevada one industry at a time.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Bryan Wachter. He is the Senior Vice President of the Retail Association of Nevada. How did Thanksgiving go?
We had more shoppers in stores over the Thanksgiving weekend than we've ever had. You look back in 2019, pre-COVID, about 189 people shopped over that Thanksgiving weekend. This weekend, we went over 200 million. So we had more people experiencing shopping in a lot of different ways than we've ever had. And so I think that speaks to the resiliency of Nevada consumers going into the holiday season.
Was that the same story for Halloween?
We have seen most holidays where we've projected and then seen an increase in sales going forward. The question, Sam, and I think it can't be answered yet on Thanksgiving, there's still not enough data out, will be, did the spending outstrip the inflationary pressures? And I think we're still waiting to see that, but more fingers on keyboards and more boots in the door is making us very optimistic for the season.
One of the things that's been interesting to me is with the lack of, in some cases, of people returning to work or insisting on working from home when companies really want them to come back into the office. And the constant refrain we hear is that they're still utilizing the money they got from COVID to be able to maintain this lifestyle. We are seeing the credit card debt rising. What does this portend, do you think, for the retail industry?
You know, there are certainly some, I think, challenges on the board that we are looking at. Obviously, default rate for automobiles, kind of those short and midterm credit vehicles, but also taking a look at the mix of products that folks are buying. Even this Thanksgiving weekend, for the first time, personal and healthcare items were a top 5 list of products categories purchased over the weekend. We also had, a good 15 to 20% chunk of folks said that they purchased items for themselves over the Thanksgiving weekend as well. And so we are definitely seeing those shopping carts change. And we've continued to see shopping patterns change over the course of the last 12 months. And so I think we're going to expect to see that continue. And we are looking at a time when perhaps credit is going to be tight over the next year or so.
There was a story, I believe it was in the Wall Street Journal in the last couple of days, talking about how department stores are having trouble being able to utilize their in-house credit cards, which is a good profit center for them, but they're also in the 30% plus range. Do you anticipate those rates coming down for in-store credit cards, or are they just going to be dealing with people getting their mileage and points on the credit cards that they use on a regular basis?
No, I think people are certainly making different choices as to what kind of personal credit they're willing to carry, what they can sustain. I think you have certainly some of the older generation that still has the remnants of the Great Recession in their head, and so I think they plan and anticipate differently. And I think you're certainly going to see rates, if not increase, certainly stagnate. I don't see that the Fed has indicated anytime soon that they are going to lower rates, because we have yet to see any kind of overall, deflation, I guess you'd say, in prices. We continue to, in fact, see month-over-month price increases.
One of the other topics that came up, and this was also a Wall Street Journal article, was across the country, shopping malls are being purchased at way lower pricing than maybe left on the mortgages on those shopping centers. But it seems like the exact opposite is happening in Las Vegas.
Well, I think, Vegas really, I think, takes to heart the experience part of shopping. And that's something that it offers in multiple different ways and multiple different avenues. Vegas is really, when you go out and you think of going to a mall, it's an experience, it's shopping, it's visiting perhaps a casino. I think there's more to it there. But we do have malls in Las Vegas that don't have those types of things, and they are struggling. And they are trying out a constant new influx of customers that in shops and stores to have in their malls that are bringing people in and out, and we have yet to see those kind of local malls really bounce back to the same level some of those more experience-based shopping centers in Vegas have.
As you're seeing the continued growth in the market of Las Vegas, I mean, at one point the conversation was that there were going to be 3 million people in the Las Vegas Valley. It seems like we're well on the way to 3 million and probably going to exceed that. And with Ivanpah coming down the road, literally, in the 2030s, it seems like the opportunity for retail is only going to grow.
No, I think that's entirely accurate, Sam. I think, too, also the next decade and a half, Mexico is going to become even more of an important trading partner with not only the U.S., as it's largest trading partner, but both with the Southwest, right? And I think Las Vegas is going to be perfectly aligned, especially with I-11 that's going to be connecting Mexico to Canada. The United States is going to run out of labor here in the next decade, and we are going to need a supply to be able to do that. We've got pressures from China into whether or not they can continue the supply chains that we've had, both for national security reasons and for the fact that China is on the verge of collapse as well. We are going to need to onshore some of those supply chains, or the majority of them, and the United States doesn't have the labor to do that. So Mexico, I think, is an attractive place that we are going to be able to find that labor. It's something that has already been ongoing, and I think Vegas is going to be really poised to buy into that boom.
You know, what you just said is 100% correct. And it drives me crazy that we can't get our politicians to agree on an immigration policy, at minimum to a work program to allow more workers to come in the country, and, you know, a legitimate way for them to come in the country, as against straddling the border, which makes no sense whatsoever.
I couldn't agree more with you, Sam.
All right, let's take another break, and we'll be right back with Bryan Wachter after this timeout.
Take a look at Pro Group Management and see how your workers' comp requirements can be met head-on. By taking a proactive approach, Pro Group can assure that your company is meeting or exceeding state and federal standards. As you move forward in your industry, Pro Group moves with you, simplifying regulatory tasks, clearing the way so you can get the job done and look to your future success. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Like a traditional handmade basket, retail is woven into the fabric of life in Nevada. From big box to mom and pop, retail supports our communities in countless ways. Jobs for the disabled, team uniforms for kids, help for the elderly, and so much more. Retail employs over 1 in 10 workers. Retail supports Nevada, and we support retail.
RANNV.org. Early in the morning or throughout the night, professional truck drivers are on the job, serving you, safely moving freight that's crucial to our economy. From the oldest industries to our newest innovators, from the exotic to the everyday, trucks are everywhere, moving everything. Never afraid to embrace a future that makes Nevada and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
What do you count on? You count on your power every day. At NV Energy, we've always powered what's important to you, but we're not looking at the past. We're focused on the future. While our standards are high, our rates will remain low. And our commitment to renewables isn't just meeting standards, but leading the way. Because you can count on more than just your power. You can count on the company who brings it to you. That's our promise. You can count on it.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Bryan Wachter. He's the Senior Vice President of the Retail Association of Nevada. So in the coming cycle, we will have seen 25 years of either Oscar Goodman or his wife being the mayor of Las Vegas, which has been an incredible run, 25 years of the Goodmans. The race to replace them seems to be somewhat astonishing. What are your thoughts on some of these candidates?
I think, we can boil them down to some of the same faces that we've seen. And then there are a lot of new candidates that have emerged. And so I think it's going to be interesting to see if any of those unfamiliar names to folks can break out of that bubble. I know, the top of the ticket would really like to suggest it's a 2 or 3-way race. I think it might be just a little bit too early to tell that.
To replace Carolyn Goodman, the person who seems to have the most publicity, at least at this point in time, would be Shelley Berkeley. Does that make sense there?
I think certainly she's someone who has some residual name ID left over. She certainly maintained her position as kind of part of that the social circles and the establishment, well regarded, very smart. She has hired what I would say are very competent consultant staff who are used to understanding and winning races in Clark County. And so I don't think it should come as a surprise to many folks that certainly her campaign can be framed that way. We've seen a lot of what I would call, retail politics from most of the candidates. We've seen a few forums, but, we don't yet have kind of, I think, some hardcore policy decisions behind them. And so it'll be interesting to see if anybody can kind of break out of what is going to be a lot of atmospheric noise.
Well, and you've got two huge issues: the Badlands situation with the lawsuits, which could potentially bankrupt Las Vegas if the Las Vegas City Council doesn't resolve it, and then the homeless situation.
You know, and I'll be surprised if the majority of voters are voting on the Badlands issue, or are educated enough to understand why that's an existential threat to the city. Certainly, I think the homeless is the issue, but a lot of these politics are going to be nationalized, and so it's going to be really come down to who's turning out to vote.
All right. So last topic here in our remaining minute or so. The people that are already leaving the legislature, either running for other offices or going back to their private life, this is, of course, in part a result of term limits, but this has to make it so difficult for people like yourself who have to work with the legislators that each session you have to have a completely new group of people to get to know and educate on what the issues are.
No, I think that's right, Sam. I would say it's a little bit less to do with term limits and more to do with just generally people don't want to run for office right now. We are trying to recruit candidates every day, and the major refrain we get from folks is, why would I want to do something where half of people are going to hate me just automatically? And so, yes, it does make it a little difficult to have to go in and educate voters, but that's our responsibility as a trade association for retail, is to continue to tell those stories, and we do it all the time, whether we're in an election cycle or not. And so I think until we start changing how politics is working at the moment, we are not going to get people who want to stick around, and even less so, we're going to get people who actually want to voluntarily join that circus.
And that's where we have to leave it. Hopefully we'll have a more positive note to end on next time. Always a pleasure to have you on the program, Bryan. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you,
and we'll be right back.
'Tis the season for the Holiday Cash Express at Tamarack Casino. We're trimming the tree with weekly cash giveaways, including a $5,000 winner every Saturday, plus $70,000 in grand prize stocking stuffers, including two $15,000 holiday cash winners guaranteed. It's a good time to win at Tamarack Casino.
Imagine a magical garden that feeds Carson City's hungry and homeless, teaches our high school students agriculture, creates hanging floral displays to beautify downtown, and yet charges nothing. It's not magic. It's the Greenhouse Project. It's real, it's growing, and it needs your help. Go online to carsоncitygreenhouse.org so together we can grow it forward.
7 at 7 is a newscast built for your smartphone. It's a 7-minute newscast available every weekday at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. at lvrj.com. We don't waste your time, and we give you the day's top stories.
We at the RJ have noticed some similarities between us and a certain BTS character, RJ.
Plus the latest in Las Vegas business, weather, health, and entertainment news. 7 at 7 streaming now on your smartphone.
Modern boutique Ahern Hotel and Event Center sits at the heart of the Las Vegas Strip. 2 floors of meeting and event space are ideal for groups and conventions. Stay in one of 200 luxurious rooms and suites. Brand your event throughout the property. Flexible event spaces make for easy planning and personalization. Take over the entire hotel with a full buyout option.
Thanks for watching Nevada Newsmakers. You can catch us online 24 hours a day at nevadanewsmakers.com, or you can download the podcast wherever you like to get your podcast. We'll see you on the next broadcast.